Have you ever wondered why Hamas is invading Israel? The answer lies in the rising tensions that have been escalating between the two parties. It all started with rocket attacks launched by Hamas from Gaza into Israel. The situation took a dramatic turn when an unexpected surprise attack by Hamas resulted in the death of over 800 civilians. This horrifying event was a drastic escalation, and it forced Israel to officially declare war on Hamas. This was not a decision made lightly, but rather a response to the significant loss of life. The conflict has been growing ever since, with each side responding to the actions of the other in a cycle of increasing violence. This marked the beginning of a war that is threatening to become a much bigger conflict. As the conflict escalated, Israel initiated an operation called Swords of Iron. This operation was not a mere show of force. It was a decisive response to a surprise attack by Hamas. The operation involved a widespread bombing of Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip, a territory that had been a hotbed of tension and conflict. Swords of Iron was a clear message to Hamas, a message of determination and resilience, but it was more than just a bombing campaign. Israel was preparing for something larger, something more daunting, a potential ground invasion. This was a serious escalation, a shift from aerial bombardment to boots on the ground. It was a signal of Israel's commitment to neutralize the threat posed by Hamas once and for all. To bolster its forces, Israel issued a call to arms, summoning 300,000 reservists. These were not regular soldiers, but ordinary citizens, teachers, doctors, engineers, mothers, and fathers, ready to defend their homeland. This mass mobilization was a testament to the gravity of the situation. Israel was not just preparing for a battle, it was gearing up for a war. As the Israeli forces massed near the Gaza Strip, the air was thick with anticipation and apprehension. The potential ground invasion was expected to be challenging and costly. The urban landscape of Gaza, with its narrow streets and densely populated areas, would not be an easy battleground. Moreover, the added complication of hostages held by Hamas added another layer of complexity to the looming conflict. Despite the challenges, Israel was resolute. The Operation Swords of Iron continued unabated. The stage was set for a full-scale war, with Israel preparing for a complete siege on Gaza. But the conflict wasn't just limited to Hamas. Israel had another front to worry about. As the tension between Israel and Hamas surged in the south, a new, equally potent threat was brewing along Israel's northern border. Here, the militant group Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, was becoming increasingly restless. Akin to a sleeping giant, Hezbollah's involvement in the conflict could easily escalate the situation into a wider regional conflict. The stakes were high, the danger palpable. Hezbollah and the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, were no strangers to skirmishes. Their history was punctuated with instances of cross-border fire, but this time the situation seemed more volatile. Hezbollah, heavily armed and battle-hardened, posed a significant threat. With each exchange of fire, each bullet that whizzed past, the potential for a full-blown confrontation escalated. The concerns were not unfounded. If a second front were to open up in the north, Israel would find itself caught in a precarious pincer situation. Hamas in the south, Hezbollah in the north. This could potentially escalate the war beyond the borders of Israel and Gaza, drawing in other regional players and possibly leading to unforeseen consequences. Meanwhile, as the IDF braced themselves for the potential onslaught from the north, their fighter jets continued to rain down on Gaza, a grim reminder of the ongoing conflict. The situation was a ticking time bomb, and the fuse was getting dangerously short. With the threat of Hezbollah looming, the conflict was at risk of escalating beyond Hamas and Israel. As the world watched with bated breath, the question remained: would the second front open up, or could disaster be averted? The answer, it seemed, was hanging in the balance. As the conflict intensified, the world watched and intervened. With the rising tensions and the increasing loss of life, the international community sprung into action. Diplomatic efforts were initiated, with the aim of bringing an end to the violence that had gripped the region. The United States, a long-standing ally of Israel, took a lead role in this process. The US envoy made a beeline for the region, engaging in crucial talks with key stakeholders and pushing for an immediate ceasefire. But diplomatic efforts were not limited to the United States. Egypt, with its historical role as a peace broker in the region, also took up the mantle. Egypt's regional efforts for a ceasefire underscored the gravity of the situation and the urgency of halting the violence. In addition to diplomatic interventions, there was also a show of military support. The United States dispatched its most advanced aircraft carrier and strike group to Israel's coast. This move, while not indicative of an impending military intervention, served as a strong signal of support for Israel and a deterrent for further escalation of the conflict. These international interventions were critical in trying to navigate a path towards peace. They served to highlight the global concern over the escalating violence and the potential for a wider conflict that could destabilize the entire region. Despite international efforts, the conflict continues, with a potential ground invasion threatening to escalate the situation further. At the heart of this conflict, however, are the people. The relentless bombardment of Gaza by IDF fighter jets has led to a staggering number of Palestinian casualties. Amidst this chaos, the situation is further complicated by Hamas holding hostages, adding another layer of human suffering to this conflict. The toll on innocent lives is profound, and the echoes of their pain ripple across the world. As the war wages on, it's the civilians who bear the brunt of the conflict.